Welcome back to Lincoln Currency in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of currency. Few things capture the imagination quite like the possibility that an ordinary coin in your pocket might be worth a fortune. And when it comes to American coinage, one of the most intriguing stories surrounds the humble 1967 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like any other coin. Just a 1-cent piece, with the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But hidden within this seemingly common copper coin is a tale of historical significance, minting anomalies, and the allure of rare value that has collectors and enthusiasts around the world paying close attention. Some even claim that certain versions of this coin are worth up to $87 million. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can a penny, a simple 1-cent coin, possibly be worth that kind of money? The answer lies in a unique combination of factors: history, minting practices, metal composition, errors, scarcity, and sometimes, just pure myth that captures the public's imagination. To understand why the 1967 Lincoln penny is so sought after, we need to go back in time and take a look at the history of the Lincoln cent itself, as well as the socio-economic context of the late 1960s. The Lincoln penny was first issued in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first time a real person, and specifically a U.S. president, had appeared on a regularly circulating American coin. The obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, features a right-facing profile of Lincoln, while the original reverse showed 2 ears of wheat flanking the denomination, known as the wheat penny. This design continued until 1959, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, in honor of the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1967, the Lincoln Memorial design was in full circulation. But this was also a time of change for the U.S. Mint. In the mid-1960s, a severe coin shortage was gripping the United States, leading the Mint to take several steps to increase coin production. One of these steps was the temporary suspension of mint marks on coins during 1965, 1966, and 1967. That's right, any 1967 Lincoln penny you find will not have a mint mark, regardless of where it was produced. Whether it was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, the coin will appear identical in terms of the absence of a mint mark. This was done to discourage coin hoarding and to streamline production. Despite this lack of mint marks, millions, yes, millions, of 1967 pennies were struck. In fact, over 3 billion of them were produced that year, more than 1.5 billion in Philadelphia, over 800 million in Denver, and nearly 300 million in San Francisco. So, with such a high mintage, why would anyone think this coin is rare, let alone worth millions? The answer lies not in the ordinary 1967 penny, but in the unusual variants. Over the years, coin collectors have identified a small number of 1967 pennies that exhibit striking errors or anomalies. These include double dies, off-center strikes, and planchet errors. A double die occurs when a coin is struck twice by misaligned dies, resulting in visible doubling of the image or text. These kinds of minting errors are rare, and when they are discovered, they can drive up a coin's value significantly. Another factor is the composition of the coin. The standard 1967 penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But occasionally, a coin is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. For example, if a 1967 penny was struck on a silver dime planchet or a foreign planchet with different metallic content, the resulting coin would weigh differently, look unusual, and be instantly recognizable to an experienced numismatist. Such errors are extremely rare and highly prized by collectors. There have also been rumors, largely unconfirmed but persistent, of 1967 pennies with misaligned mint marks or other anomalies that escaped the mint's quality control and ended up in circulation. These coins, if they exist, are the stuff of legend, with some collectors speculating that their value could climb into the millions. Of course, these rumors are fueled by internet lore, viral social media posts, and unverified auction listings, but they continue to fascinate. Now let's talk about that eye-popping figure, $87 million. Where does this number come from? In most realistic scenarios, no penny, including a 1967 Lincoln cent, has sold for $87 million at a legitimate auction. But sometimes exaggerated or misinterpreted headlines suggest that a coin was valued at that level. These stories usually emerge from online articles that sensationalize rare coin values to attract clicks. That said, there are coins, including rare cents, that have sold for hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million, especially if they are mint-era coins or unique prototypes known as pattern coins. For instance, the 1943 copper Lincoln penny is one such famous example. Most 1943 pennies were made of zinc-coated steel due to wartime metal conservation. However, a few copper versions were mistakenly struck and released. One of these rare coins sold for over $1 million in recent years. While the 1967 penny doesn't have a widely recognized variant like that, at least not yet, the possibility of a unique error surfacing keeps collectors intrigued. Another reason for the coin's allure is its age and nostalgic value. Many people who grew up in the 1960s remember using these coins daily, and now, decades later, they're curious to see if any of them are worth more than their face value. Coin collecting is often as much about personal stories and historical connection as it is about monetary value. If you're wondering how to tell if your 1967 penny is valuable, here are a few steps you can take. First, examine the coin carefully under a magnifying glass or microscope. Look for doubling on the date or lettering. Check the edges for signs of an off-center strike or unusual coloration. Weigh the coin. If it deviates from the standard 3.11 grams, that could be a clue that it was struck on a different planchet. If you suspect you have something rare, your next step should be to have the coin authenticated and graded by a professional coin grading service such as PCGS or NGC. Coins that receive high grades, such as MS65 or higher, tend to command higher prices at auction, especially if they also feature a known mint error. Some 1967 pennies in pristine, uncirculated condition have sold for $50 to $500 depending on demand and grade. Extremely rare variants or error coins could fetch significantly more, potentially in the tens of thousands. But again, claims of $87 million should be treated with skepticism unless backed by verified auction data. That said, the fascination with coins like the 1967 penny isn't just about the potential for wealth. It's about the thrill of the hunt. The idea that a forgotten jar of pennies in your attic might contain a treasure. It's about history, craftsmanship, and the human stories behind the things we carry in our pockets every day. Every coin has passed through countless hands, lived a life, and has a story to tell. So the next time you find a 1967 penny, take a moment to examine it. It may look ordinary, but it could be extraordinary. Whether it turns out to be a rare error worth thousands or simply a well-loved coin from decades past, it's a small piece of American history. And who knows? Maybe you'll be the lucky one who discovers the next great coin treasure, just waiting to be found. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare coins, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's ever picked up a penny and wondered if it could be worth more than a cent. Keep your eyes open, keep collecting, and who knows, your next big discovery could be hiding in plain sight. Would you like this formatted as a downloadable script file or need help with visuals or voiceover suggestions? The channel. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, the 1980 Lincoln penny, particularly those with mint marks that have captured the attention of collectors, historians, and even investors across the globe. You might think of pennies as mere pocket change, but the story behind the 1980 Lincoln cent is far more compelling than its face value suggests. What if I told you that a 1-cent coin from 1980, a coin that millions of people used every day and probably threw in jars or drawers, could be worth not just hundreds or thousands of dollars, but potentially up to $87 million? That's right, $87 million for a penny that once jingled in someone's pocket. Let's explore how this came to be, what makes these coins so special, and how the rarest variations have become legendary within numismatic circles. To understand the value of the 1980 Lincoln penny, we have to start with its origin. The Lincoln cent was first minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin replaced the Indian head cent and featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse, or front side, making it the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Over time, the reverse design changed from wheat stalks to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, marking 150 years since Lincoln's birth. The 1980 penny falls within this Lincoln Memorial series, which ran from 1959 to 2008. The coin is made primarily of copper, though it's important to note that 1982 marked a major shift from copper to a copper-plated zinc composition due to rising metal costs. But the 1980 penny was still composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing 3.11 grams, and that alone makes it desirable to some collectors today. Now, the real intrigue with the 1980 Lincoln penny comes into play when we look at the mint marks. There are three main mint marks to consider: no mint mark for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. While billions of these coins were produced that year, certain mint mark varieties and errors make some 1980 pennies dramatically more valuable than others. The standard 1980 penny without a mint mark is generally common, but even among those high-grade examples, coins in pristine, untouched condition can sell for significant sums. A 1980 penny graded MS67 read by PCGS, which indicates superb quality and original luster, can fetch well over $1,000 at auction. But that's just scratching the surface. Let's talk about the Denver minted 1980 D penny. The Denver Mint produced over 5 billion of these coins, but again, condition is everything. A regular circulated 1980 D penny may be worth only face value, but a flawless, mint state example with brilliant red luster can sell for hundreds, or even thousands. These coins are often evaluated under magnification, with even the smallest flaw, like a nick or discoloration, greatly affecting value. Collectors often seek full red pennies because copper coins tend to oxidize and darken over time. A true red designation means the coin has retained its original bright copper color, making it far rarer. Then there's the San Francisco minted 1980 S penny. While most of these were struck as proof coins for collectors and not intended for circulation, some made their way into the public. Proof coins are struck using special dies and polished planchets to give them a mirror-like finish and extraordinary detail. The 1980 S proof penny is a favorite among collectors, and when in PR69 or PR70 deep cameo condition, the highest possible grades, these coins can command significant prices. But it's the era coins, the unusual variations, and the rarest anomalies that turn a humble cent into $1 million treasure. One of the most legendary and controversial rumors in the coin collecting world is the existence of a 1980 Lincoln penny that supposedly sold for or was valued at an astronomical $87 million. Now, this may sound unbelievable, and many experts question the legitimacy of that figure, but the rumor persists and continues to fuel fascination. Some claim the coin featured a double die obverse, where the date and lettering appear doubled due to a misalignment during the striking process. Others speculate that the coin may have been struck on the wrong planchet, such as a dime blank or foreign coin blank, or that it was an experimental piece that somehow escaped the mint. Such extreme errors, especially if unique, can create demand far beyond traditional collecting circles, attracting investors and wealthy buyers eager to own a one-of-a-kind piece of American history. But is a penny really worth $87 million? It's difficult to say definitively, because no publicly verified sale of a 1980 penny at that value has been documented. However, when it comes to ultra-rare coins, the value is ultimately what someone is willing to pay for it. We've seen other coins, like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, sell for tens of millions of dollars. So if a collector with deep pockets truly believes in the uniqueness and historical significance of a particular 1980 Lincoln cent, and if it comes with the right provenance and condition, an astronomical price isn't entirely out of the question. Let's not forget the cultural and emotional factors. For many people, coin collecting is more than a hobby, it's a connection to the past, a way of preserving history. A penny from 1980 may seem mundane at first glance, but consider the context. It was a year of significant global change, with Ronald Reagan elected president, the U.S. economy in a turbulent state, and technology on the brink of revolution. That little coin passed through countless hands and witnessed a world that was evolving rapidly. Now imagine one of those coins was struck in error, preserved in perfect condition, and uncovered decades later. The mystery, the rarity, the story, it all adds up to something far more valuable than copper and zinc. So what should you look for if you're hoping to find a valuable 1980 penny? Start with the basics. Look at the mint mark, check for unusual positioning, size, or doubling. Examine the date closely for any signs of doubling or errors. Weigh the coin. If it doesn't match the standard 3.11 grams, it might have been struck on the wrong planchet. Use a magnifying glass or microscope to detect minute anomalies that could signal an error coin. And above all, preserve its condition. Even a tiny scratch can dramatically reduce the value of a coin that might otherwise be worth thousands. The coin market today is hotter than ever. With the rise of online marketplaces, grading services like PCGS and NGC, and social media exposure, even casual collectors have the tools to identify rare coins and capitalize on them. Penny hoarding has become a real phenomenon, especially among people hunting for pre-1982 copper pennies, which contain more than a cent's worth of metal. The 1980 penny sits right in the sweet spot of this trend. Not only is it made of copper, but it's also old enough to be collectible and young enough to be found in circulation. That means it's still possible, though rare, to find a valuable 1980 penny in your change. If you do think you've found something unusual, the first step is to avoid cleaning the coin. Cleaning can ruin the surface and instantly destroy its value. Instead, get it evaluated by a reputable dealer or consider submitting it to a grading service. They'll assess its authenticity, grade, and potential market value. Who knows? You might just be holding the next $1 million penny, or even the infamous $87 million specimen that collectors continue to whisper about. In the end, the 1980 Lincoln penny is a fascinating case study in how everyday objects can take on extraordinary meaning. It's a story of history, craftsmanship, rarity, and human curiosity. Whether or not the $87 million valuation is real or myth, it's clear that certain 1980 pennies are worth far more than their face value. And perhaps most importantly, it shows us that treasures still exist in the most unlikely places, sometimes even in the palm of your hand. Thanks for watching. Keep checking your change, keep learning, and keep collecting. You never know what story you'll find next. Would you like this formatted into a script layout for voiceover or on-screen text?